Ah, yes. Here we are yet again. If you're watching us live, that can mean only one thing. Well, maybe more than one thing, but it definitely means one thing, that it's Wednesday at noon Eastern time. It is time for the High Noon Hemp Show. You can find us many places, live video, and on demand video. Of course, the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel is probably the best place, is the best quality. We're also on Facebook at the Temptations Beach Facebook page and at Temptations on Twitter. With the podcast, Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, just search the High Noon Hemp Show. Hey, there I am again. Sound awesome. So far, so good. I am Stoner Jesus, who you just heard in a different place on a delay, which is also awesome. Technology is an amazing thing. He is Beach, high above the Sharonville, Ohio Hemptations location, the hemp quarters. Beach, how are things this week in the world of Hemptations?
Things are okay. Okay, I'm almost got the studio back to where I really need it to be. We'll see. Although I'm working with the iPad now, as far as the video goes, so we'll see how the audio works with that. I don't know if cracking popples some more, but
We're getting the crackles a little bit early. So yes,
a little bit of the crackles.
yes.
I'll try not to pop. But welcome everyone to the High Noon Hemp Show. It is true. I am Beach, and I am high above the Sharonville location. No doubt about it. We are, man, season 19, episode 4. Is that right? Something like that.
Indeed, it is. That's exactly right.
Here we are. Thanks everybody for watching. Remember, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. So remember that. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the product spotlight and get on with it. The first one is the return of a product that was very popular. I think it's still very popular, and that's actually the Kratom Plus CBD Blissful Botanical Capsules. And again, we just got these back in the stores. People are getting a lot of relief from these and have wanted them, and now they're back. So if you've been waiting for the Kratom Plus CBD capsules to come back in, they are back in. Also back in, a billionaire wraps. Some very popular hemp wraps in the hemp wrap world. So if you've been looking for these as well to wrap your CBD or CBG or Delta 8 flower or soon to be sold legally THCA flower, get yourself some billionaire wraps. They very popular, very popular. Here's a picture of all the t-shirts, or most of, actually, there's a whole nother side there. So if you're looking for a t-shirt for the summer, you need to get yourself a hemp t-shirt. This is, again, at the Sharonville location, which is probably the largest selection of t-shirts in all the stores. If you go into any one of the other locations and you're looking for particular sizes, let them know, and maybe we can get some of the sizes down to that location for you, so you don't have to come up to Sharonville. But Sharonville is worth exploring when it comes to the selection. It's the largest inventory out of all the stores because everything comes in here and then goes out to there. So get yourself a hemp t-shirt for the summer. Gonna need them this summer. It's gonna be a warm one, although today is a little cooler than normal, amazingly enough.
Indeed.
And the last one, the one from my door. Oh, wait a minute. Did I skip something? No, I didn't. I almost skipped something. Sorry. How about a Hemptations hat? Again, this particular hat is at the Sharonville location. But, we have Hemptations hats all over the place. So if you're looking for a hat to block that sun this summer, and now I have to take these. I don't know why I didn't take that sticker off, because the sticker says it's a snapback. It's actually Velcro. So I don't know. And I guess that I don't know if Velcro is a snap or not, but they are not really what we would consider a snapback. They're adjustable Velcro, which I think is easier to adjust to any size as opposed to a snapback, which is just the holes, and you line them up and you get the one closest to where you want it. So there you have it. 4 from the store. Now the one from my door is, and I was talking about this last week, one of my favorite books that was written 20 some years ago, published right after we opened. So I think this was published in 96. Um, we opened in 95. Again, consider this a hemp part of my personal hemp, because there is one page of the book, as you can see, that they printed on hemp paper. And they go to talk about how to publish the book in 100% paper would have cost like a crazy amount to do it. They are using somewhat post-consumer recycled paper at the time. Again, this is 1996. Um, and so it'd be really fun to see a newly published version of this on hemp paper. I think they could do it a lot more economically these days than they could, almost 30 years ago. Gosh, it's hard to believe it was almost 30 years ago. So, and again, the book itself was great. He basically broke down all the different reasons why we want to grow hemp. Other than he might have even talked about, I don't know if they really talked about CBD. It was kind of the cusp of really starting to talk about CBD as far as an industrial hemp byproduct back then. But and then also like does focuses on companies. So basically, welcome to the world of hemp. And then the business profile for the first chapter was a company called Hempcore. Hemp historical prominence was the second chapter, and then their business profile was La Chèvrerie de Aube. I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's a French company. The law and politics of hemp, and then the business profile was Two Star Dog, which I don't know if I've actually worn or shown anything by Two Star Dog. I'm gonna have to find some Two Star Dog products that I have, possibly in the archives, and show those off. Around the globe with hemp today. The business profile for that chapter was Row Hemp. Hemp in the marketplace. Business profile was the Rella Good Cheese Company. Farming of hemp. Business profile was Hempline. And then hemp and sustainable future, and the business profile was Hemp Essentials. So, might go back and study up and look into these companies and see. I don't know. It has this. I just was looking through, and it has some of the charts. And I don't know if this was a different chart, but that came out of Germany. Interesting. Modern uses for hemp. So maybe I'll get some of these charts out there and other stuff that he's got in the book that was well researched, well written, very educational to me. He turned us on to some hemp companies at the time. We probably started carrying Two Star Dog products after that or something once we found out that they existed. But it's hard to say. So almost 30 years ago published, part of my hemp collection, so to speak. So there's 4 from the store and 1 from my door on the product spotlight. And I do have more, but I'm going to do it in the news. So
nice.
We are going to spotlight a hemp product in the news and show you what's available online with it. All right.
It's what's known in the broadcasting business as a tease. So stick around for that. Speaking of hemp collections, you may or may not know, if you've watched the show before, you're very much aware, the extensive hemp clothing collection that is possessed by Beach. Is it the biggest in the world? I think so. Somebody prove me wrong. Somebody prove to me that you have more hemp stuff than Beach, and I don't know. I'll do something. I'll dye my beard green. That's what I'll do. If you can prove to me you have more hemp stuff than Beach, I will dye my beard green, bright green, and I'll walk around the world that way. That's my promise to you. Mark it down, June 7th, 2023. So bring it on. It's all my long-winded way of saying, hey, it's time for me to ask Beach a very important question relating to his very extensive hemp clothing collection. When I ask, what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you'll know on this Wednesday of the High Noon Hemp Show. On top there, and I think I might have kind of done a variation of this outfit recently, but only maybe the hat and shoes. That's the Head Eye Council grassroots hat up there. A classic Monastache polo. And I don't believe I've ever worn this particular polo on the show. I'm definitely going to be breaking out some of the more rare shirts that I have recently. Now, the shorts have been on here. They were actually, that's Woolworth. Good old Woolworth. I don't know if it's just the one Woolworth or all the Woolworths we were kicked out of. That's a quote from Oh Brother, We're All Wow. But yeah, big name Woolworth making those. And again, you can see in my pocket there, good old Green Springs Technology pen, as always. Underneath it, got a pair of Hemptopia briefs with my Oasis no-show socks. I remember to throw those in the picture because you can't really see them. And then bringing it all together is my classic pair of Adidas Sambas. So if you're curious, what are you wearing, Moron or Maroon? And now you know here on the High Noon Hemp Show.
Indeed.
All right. Well, again, last night was the medical marijuana meetup. I was there as promised. And, you know, I learned something, as I always do in most of the conversations, talking to, because again, there's everybody is there, from dispensary people to manufacturers to doctors to writers to investigators, all kinds of people show up to this. And I learned something very interesting last night that I did not know, and this might be something that, you know, we will definitely be looking into, and that is that CBC. So this is kind of one of the newer ones. It's been around for a while. We've known about it for a while, but because I think it doesn't specifically, you know, have any real negotiable side effects, although I learned this to not be true so much, and it's cannabichromenic, CBC. And my understanding is this is one of the cannabinoids that's responsible for euphoria. And so my understanding is if you follow up smoking your, whether it's CBD or I don't know, you know, THC, Delta 8, THCA, which is now a legal industrial hemp byproduct. Just so everybody knows, we have THCA or Delta 9 products legally extracted from industrial hemp under the 2018 Farm Bill, 100% legal. But if you use CBC after, then it's supposed to boost the euphoric effects. And again, it is classified as a hallucinogenic, only because, you know, it can distort or enhance music, sound, time, things like that. You know, again, that's very on the low scale. You know, this whole conversation actually started from talking about the legality of mushrooms and using mushrooms, which is slowly becoming very popular. You know, someone thought that, you know, we were talking about whether it would happen in Ohio, maybe Cincinnati could decriminalize mushrooms as a start, but we're seeing a lot of cities legalize. We're going to see a lot. We're going to hopefully see more medical research once on that subject. But this was kind of, you know, again, showing the enhancement of certain cannabinoids as far as euphoria. So that being said, you know, you can take that CBC out, and then you don't have to worry about the euphoria, or you can add it and get that euphoria if that's what you're looking for. So I thought that was pretty interesting, because nobody's really talking about CBC yet. But if that is the case, then I do think that is going to be almost an enhancement product now. Like we need it, honestly. But either way, we'll see how that goes. So it looks like old Garth Brooks, my man Garth Brooks, is the latest image to be stolen in the CBD gummy scam. Again, we've been reporting on this, I think, from almost day one of the show. identities that have been stolen by this CBD scammers. And they, it's like an article, and they just talk about stuff, and then there's these little links in between, like a small paragraph about maybe CBD, talking about CBD. There'll be a link that you can click on, and I don't even know if they ever really even talk about the person in the article. They just use that image in the headline, and then they get you to go in, and then you see, and then you click on the link, and you buy some gummies. And I don't know if they're real CBD gummies or just gummies. Honestly, I'm not sure how that's working. If they're real CBD gummies, then they're only just scammers using famous people's images illegally. If they're not even sending you CBD gummies, then they're just straight up thieves. And I don't know how they're still getting away with it, but they seem to be still getting away with it. And I don't know how, honestly, because they've been sued and caught and whatever. And I don't know if it's, like all the other scams, they just change the website to something different for a different link, use somebody different, try to get as many sales as they can until they get busted and move on. I don't know how they're making it work, but buyer beware. Do some research beyond just an article that looks like somebody famous is hawking these CBD gummies or CBD products. Dive a little deeper before you purchase. Just come into Hemptations. Get your stuff there. Go on to hemptations.com. Do some shopping online. We have real CBD in our gummies, I promise. Always have. Made semi-locally in the good old state of Kentucky. Grown, made, all that, right across the river. We would make them in Ohio if it wasn't for Ohio's crazy licensing fees. Not cool, Ohio. But, I still consider it local because it's really only about 12 miles down the road to Kentucky. And even closer to the O'Brienville and Northside store. So,
that's right.
Here's interesting. I don't know if I think I did talk about the woolly umbrella plant possibly containing up to 40 cannabinoids. And that is including CBG. So that's kind of interesting. I saw another article on it. So we'll kind of keep our eye on the old woolly umbrella plant. CBG is online with CBD and what it does. I think that, again, you got CBD is the most powerful non-euphoric cannabinoid out there. And then CBG and CBN kind of follow that up, depending on whether you're looking for kind of a daytime relief, which is CBG, or a nighttime relief, which is CBN. And so we're definitely seeing, CBN being definitely the calmer and being used in more nighttime products, and CBG kind of more in daytime products. But I'm sure that the CBG people will be very happy to get their CBG from the woolly umbrella plant as much as cannabis, even though it does seem kind of silly because we are growing high CBG cannabis flower with the industrial hemp world. So it seems kind of silly. It depends on how much CBG content, I guess, the woolly umbrella plant gets or has. I don't know. We've heard this before. They were saying that we could get CBD from like oranges or something a couple years ago. That turned out to not be true at all. And so, we'll see how far this really goes. But it would be very interesting to see if other plants do produce cannabinoids. That's great. As we're discovering more and more of them, or the way to use more and more of them. We've discovered them all, or most of them have been discovered, I should say. But they were all pushed aside because Delta-9 THCA was deemed the big one. And after that, no one really cared until 10, 15, 20 years ago when we start seeing what CBD can do in the real world. And that's kind of what started us down the path of all these other cannabinoids that have great therapeutic properties and help people every day that aren't Delta-9 or not getting people high, so to speak, one way or another. In an article from healthsite.com, this has got to be somewhat reliable, right? That's not true. Anybody can have a .com. But anyway, um, they do say hemp seeds for nutrition, 5 amazing benefits you should know. The first one, of course, is high protein, which I have talked about more and more. I did find my periodical table of protein that Wired had done, so I'll try to get a picture of that up on the show here soon. But it's second to spirulina as far as protein content from vegetative matter, and it's even comparable to some of the meats. Not obviously not beef, or I don't even think chicken, but some of the other beefs, pork or whatnot, it might be comparable in protein too. Second reason, high in omega-3, 6, and 9. It is said to have the perfect ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. And so these are essential fatty acids, very beneficial to the human body, one way or another. It's also high in dietary fiber. So if you eat the whole seed, you get a huge amount of fiber. So that's got to be good for the GI tract and cleaning you out and doing things there, no doubt about it. Let's see, where did I go? There I am. Brain health, and also reduces inflammation. And again, that brain health is a lot of that omega-6, omega-3. It has a lot of minerals and vitamins and all these things, magnesium and whatnot, that are great for our brain. And also, the inflammation, reduces the inflammation. And again, this is hemp seed. This is not CBD. This is not Delta 9. This is just the hemp seed oil, which, nutritionally is great. And all vegans, vegetarians should look to add hemp seed to their diets, as far as one of the healthiest sources for protein. What I'm seeing, even more and more now is like weightlifting sites and athletic sites or things dedicated towards, those protein powders that people that work out need to sustain their bodies and keep them healthy. Adding hemp seed or having hemp seed in it, again, because of that protein, because of those essential fatty acids, because of its anti-inflammation, it's heart healthy, cholesterol free. There's all these things that why we're here and why we need to encourage more and more food companies to add or make food products with hemp seed. So here's more proof as to why they should. Well, here's a picture of the Folsom rug, but you can barely see it. I don't know. You can see now. I do believe again this may be a product of India, possibly, but I think that the pillowcase may actually be a hemp product as well. But this was kind of like a environmentally friendly shopping, and they talked about what this is called the Folsom rug, or the company was Folsom, and I don't know anything about them, but it is hemp, and so that's pretty cool. I know that for a while there, oh man, I'm trying to think of the discount website that I used to go to, man, but they had a pretty decent selection of hemp rugs. Just cover rugs like this, not hemp carpet, but rugs. And so, it's more and more of these, once again, need to be made. It's a cleaner, much better. I'd much rather be walking around or letting my kids crawl around on a hemp rug, knowing that there were no chemicals, no pesticides used to grow it, because it's pretty, what we say, all natural, organic by nature. It doesn't, when grown for the fiber, it doesn't need any herbicides or pesticides. Maybe water on occasion, but either way. So I don't know if that's available in the United States, but it's glad to be. I'm glad they're making it somewhere in the world, and if it is India, I'm not sure, but it may have been India. Um, then it'll be in this United States soon enough. Because we're going to see India supplying more and more stuff to us. I left my light on. Is that better? I don't know if that's better or worse. Better? Worse. Better? Worse. I'm not as bright now. Just not as bright now. It's kind of weird it doesn't affect as much on my iPad lighting as it did, I think, on my computer lighting. But anyway.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Fun stuff. The EU, the European Union, has clarified that hemp leaves are legal. They are no longer classified as what's called a novel food, which I don't understand what that really means to the French. They are a food product. And this all, I think, came out of a German tea company or a tea place. The guy was arrested. The owner of the place was arrested for using hemp leaves in a tea, which he believed was 100% legal and is 100% legal as far as the European Union goes now. And should be legal in Germany if it was industrial hemp, because I know that they are growing industrial hemp there, and so that's kind of big news here, because that's something that the leaves of cannabis, CBD plants or fiber plants or seed plants, whatever you're growing it for, the leaves are the one product that we're seeing the most waste from at this point. I think the stalk is now finding a place. The fiber, obviously, the material is found a place. The grain is finding a place, but the leaves are still kind of in limbo because there's not a huge market for them. And so it's interesting to see if they actually what kind of benefits of hemp leaf tea would have. It's kind of I would like to see what kind of nutritional benefits a hemp leaf salad would have. And so, these are some of the parts of the market. And again, maybe we have to test the leaf. Obviously, if it comes from industrial hemp, then the leaves won't have more than that 0.3%, regardless if there's any THC in the leaves. I don't feel like there is as much THC in the leaves, if any. And so that would be an interesting study to see how that crosses over as far as a food product, because again, we just don't see a whole lot of food product coming from the leaves part of it. So hopefully, they'll be paying attention here, and that'll be the last market that'll kind of open itself up as, instead of that just being waste, just like the stocks were waste to the grain companies in Canada. And now they're starting to catch on and realize that there's a market for those. And so instead of burning them at the end of the year, more and more grain companies are hopefully selling that stalk or bass, whatever you want to call it, shiv, which is the outside part of the stalk, broken up is everything from hempcrete mix to animal bedding. Another key, the more animal bedding. Anyway, and so 100% of the plant should be used at the end of the season. There's really no reason why any of the plant, even if you pulled it up by the root, should be wasted or burnt or disregarded, because it all has purpose. And again, hemp leaves as part of that market. I'm very interested to see if what that would entail, because I would love to try a hemp seed or a hemp leaf salad with hemp dressing and hemp seeds sprinkled on top. Come on, world. I know there's some hemp growers, some hemp farmers out there that can make this happen. Somebody out there can make this happen. So let's do it. Let's do it. I am ordering another challenge. 2 challenges in one show. A,
right.
prove that you have more hemp than me, and my man over there will dye his beard bright green.
That's right.
B, offer me a hemp leaf salad with hemp dressing with hemp sprinkled on top. All that's probably going to get you is a mention on the show, but you know, you will be forever immortalized on the High Noon Hemp Show as the
Right.
person that made the hemp salad challenge come true. So, 2 challenges, folks. Come on, bring it on. Maybe some more challenges to come. I don't know. Can we have another challenge in this show? Maybe. Plenty of things to be
Yeah.
challenged in the hemp world. Um, how about a list of the global hemp concrete competitors? Now this is interesting because once again, I do not recognize one of these names. I think it's interesting that they don't have any hemp in any of their names or any even version of hemp, which is this is the way we see these things happening. It's not going to be a bunch of new concrete companies started, although there are that are really making hempcrete come true. But it's the concrete companies that already exist that are saying, hey, instead of having to use sand, which we know is a limited commodity at this point for concrete, let's use hemp and use hempcrete. And so this was a study that was not a study, uh, but an evaluation, I guess, of the global hemp concrete market. And I didn't, the results, I think if I would have clicked, I would have had to pay for or subscribe to something. But I did want to just go ahead and throw this list up there so, you know, people can look into these companies. I don't know. This is all over the world. There's 5 different countries I think that they were focusing on, including the United States, as to where these particular companies operate. Um, but if you're in a foreign country or the United States and you're looking for some hempcrete companies, these are the key competitors, according to this article, of the global hemp concrete market. And I'm just glad that there are key competitors of the global hemp concrete market.
Yeah.
That's again, the world I want to live in. And again, when we start seeing some of these bigger construction companies, and we're still not quite 100% there as to, we're pretty close as to the mix that can even be load bearing. So right now you can build with hempcrete in the United States, but you can't do load bearing yet. But I did report just recently on the show a month or so ago that a university did come up with a mixture of hempcrete that can be and is certified load bearing. And so, that changes the construction world when they don't have to think about using, say, a different creed or a different load bearing idea. Um, and, we can use hempcrete either way, then, that's great. So, we're not using nearly as much hempcrete in the United States, but there's a huge interest in more and more every day, one way or another. And again, part of that is because, we need official approval from whoever, OSHA, the federal government, that it is in fact safe to use for whatever we want to use it for. And again, it's legal to use in the United States in 49 out of 50 states, and I still don't know where you can't use hempcrete to build in the United States. If I was to guess, it'd probably be like South Dakota, because the governor of South Dakota is as non-friendly about hemp as anything. But I don't know that one state that says it is not approved to be used in any construction, whereas 49 out of 50 say you can use it. Once again, not for load-bearing walls or any type of load-bearing construction right now. But you can, build that load-bearing wall and then fill it in with hempcrete. So either way, if you so wish to do that, one of the best insulators out there. Hempcrete we're finding. Um, so, it's well worth using as a construction material. It's not an environmental thing as much as it is um, it's an equal to or better than material. So why not go ahead and convert to it? Lighter, all the good antimicrobial, antibacterial, all that. And so using it's not just about the environment. It's about a better product that is in fact better for the environment as well. And so in construction companies know it's a well-known fact that there's only so much concrete sand in the world, and it is a particular sand. If you don't know, it's not desert sand, or you'd be like, well, there's a bazillion grains of desert sand out there. It's not desert sand, it's a different sand, and so it's really mined and removed from where we get it now. And my understanding is that it will run out, not for a while, but if we know it's going to run out, why not just find the alternative now? Just leave the rest of it alone, just like oil. Hemp is an alternative to drilling for oil. I know we still have oil in the world, but why not just leave the rest of it alone and convert everything we can to hemp oil? The same thing goes with hemp shiv, that outer part, that bast of the stalk. Why not use that in hempcrete and save the rest of the sand and just leave it to nature? Because that is the goal in the world, especially when it comes to hemp. Parts of Australia are banning cutting down trees. Once again, we can stop cutting down trees for the most part right now and use hemp. And part of this decree, and this was supposed to happen supposedly in Victoria or whatnot. This was supposed to happen in like 7 years, but they said, guess what? We're done. We're done. There's zero reason for us to cut down any more trees in our country or our province or whatever it is in Australia. So we're done as of January 1st, 2024. You cannot cut down a tree. It's the most brilliant thing ever, honestly. And they are looking to hemp to replace that wood. And so, Australia as a country was just legalized industrial hemp itself most recently, about on the same path as us, in all honesty. There were certain parts of the country where it was legal and has been for 20 years to grow, but the entire country, no. Now that it is legal in the entire country, we're seeing a huge movement for the food product coming out of Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand's both New Zealand and Australia are both, I think, doing as much as they can with industrial hemp in the short amount of time that it's been legal for them to really grow industrial hemp. And this is on the non-CBD market. We're seeing a lot of once again hempcrete coming out of Australia, again, food products are just really starting to hit the markets because it's all kind of new to being legal across the country. But James Cameron, the famous director, he's been growing industrial hemp in Australia for 20, 25 years. Almost as long as we've been open, from my understanding. And I don't know what he actually does specifically with that. I don't know what his output was for that industrial hemp. But I think that in doing that helped make industrial hemp legal in Australia across the country, and is in fact really boosting the amount of hemp products, non-CBD related, being made in Australia and New Zealand as well. I always like to throw them in because, I think that they are making a great effort. They're kind of on the same lines as Australia when they're really promoting different products. The hemp body motorcycle that's coming out of New Zealand. That's pretty cool. So, good job, Australia, for banning the cutting down of trees. And again, this is just parts of Australia. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's Victoria. But I would love to see laws in the United States saying you can't cut down trees anymore. And then again, grow hemp. That's all you got to do. Invest in hemp growing. If you're a tree farmer or a wood product person, then invest in industrial hemp now or industrial hemp wood. There are hemp wood companies. So there's hemp wood being made in the United States. You invest in those, bring the prices down, grow as much hemp as possible, stop cutting down trees. Voila. My evil plan comes true. The world is saved. No one cares. Everything is great. The products are at least equal to or superior to whatever they replace. That's the plan. We are sticking to it. So the FDA recently said we're going to do something about CBD, but we want everybody to know we have our concerns, and those concerns were liver damage, men's reproductive, and drug interaction. I talked about this a week or so ago. And so the U.S. Roundtable is now challenging them on the liver. And I talked about this, and apparently, again, the study that showed that it may cause liver damage, was in fact a study on very large amounts of CBD. I don't know if it was on mice or humans, but I did find that out, which is something that I said. We know that small amounts and even medium amounts probably don't cause any issues. They didn't really mention the male reproductive system part. It's like, why did the FDA bring it up? Why are we going to challenge it? But they are. And of course, the drug interaction, I don't think they're trying to challenge that. But I do think that, we need a clear path to knowing, and I'm okay. Once again, I'm 100% on board with knowing what drugs interact with CBD or CBG or CBN or any of those. Because, again, specifically, as I've talked about, studies now have proven that CBD can lower and keep your blood pressure low. So if you're already on blood pressure medicine and then you're on CBD too, that can be harmful to you. There's no doubt in my mind. And so I think the drug interaction part is somewhat logical. Again, bringing up a liver study that may not have anything to do with the average person's consumption of CBD, that's not fair. And again, I think they just totally made up the male reproductive thing. I think that they're going on old science when it comes to cannabis, just to say something that they think people may not challenge. But obviously, it's going to get challenged. Thank you, U.S. Hemp Roundtable, for doing that. And so, hopefully we can get to the bottom of it, and the FDA can come up with a solution, and give us some nutritional facts or allow it to be GRAS. It's just a dietary supplement. That's all that we want it to be classified as. No different than, honestly, vitamin C or any of those other dietary supplements that are approved by the FDA that are just as healthy as CBD is, or prove that it's not, and we deal with that, if we have to. I don't think that we have to. I don't think that we'll have to. I don't think that there will ever be any medical proof that the average consumption of CBD is harmful to the human body. I think we find that it's more and more beneficial to the human body, which is what the FDA and the pharmaceutical world is afraid of, because this is an all-natural thing, and they hate that. That's why marijuana or Delta-9 THCA is still looked at as a bad thing, but the pharmaceutical companies don't want it to be legal because they can't patent it and they cannot syndicate or synthesize the whole plant. There's over 400 or 500 something chemicals, cannabinoids, terpenes, all these other parts um, that you can't make all those and put it together and get the same effect. You just can't do it scientifically. And so nature will win this battle, and the pharmaceutical companies are fighting a downhill battle at this point because it's a medicine in almost every state now, and it's just it's grown naturally. We don't have to go to a plant like a scientific plant, so to speak, and make these drugs in a warehouse or whatever, out of who knows what. To be honest with you, when they're making synthetic opiates and all any of that stuff, and so more and more natural is cannabis is the return to natural medicines for many ailments, and again the Western world of medicine does not want that to happen. Okay, they do not want it to happen. Okay, they want to be relied on for their non-natural ways of dealing with human ailments. Some of those are necessary. I understand that. Most of them, especially when it comes to what cannabis can do, is not. And so, that's what's holding back the federal government. One of the reasons is the pharmaceutical companies knowing that this, again, is all natural and people would rather use it. And people are using it. I guarantee you that, if and when the studies of pharmaceuticals in states that are legal, they've gone down. I would love to see those numbers to prove that, and I know the pharmaceutical companies know that. And so, that's just cutting into their board members' annual bonuses, which is the dumbest thing anyway, because I think that if I was the president of the United States, I would say that you cannot profit from medical drugs. Medical drugs, not nature, even though you really shouldn't have to profit from, but any synthetic, anything drugs made in a lab, any of that type of stuff, I don't think that you should be able to profit from that for more than one reason. The first one is it's inhumane. The people that need the drug should pay the least amount of money that they can. Okay, I mean, it doesn't mean you don't pay your employees. The nonprofits people make plenty of people. The president of a nonprofit makes plenty of money. Okay, it just means you don't have a board that's going to get money at the end of the year. It means you put all the money that you didn't spend on your employees and whatnot back into your drugs or whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't mean that people can't make their money. That the people that are doing all this. It just means there shouldn't be a profit involved. Again, it's just it seems so inhumane to make a profit on people's health problems and issues. But here we are, all day long. That's the way the system is, and it's changing more and more because of cannabis being legal in more and more states and being offered to people and them using it as a medicine, regardless of what people say. They always say, "Oh, you just want it to be legalized as a medicine, so it becomes legal over the counter," and that's 100% not true. People want it to be available as a medicine because they want to use it as a medicine, and those of us that want it to be used as a medicine, yes, want to be able to go to buy it at any store if we want to, just like a pack of smokes that have tobacco in them that kills millions of people, a year. But instead, that's not the way it's treated. That's not the way it's treated. But those changes are coming everywhere, and they're going to have to get on board, or they're not, one way or another. So apparently, a CBD store owner was arrested in Iowa. Okay, now again, Iowa's industrial hemp, as far as I know, they're growing industrial hemp. Um, the most interesting part of this is the police came in and they purchased some products, some gummies and some tincture. They tested it, okay, and it was just CBD. And then they went back and bought more gummies, tested those, just CBD, and they still went and arrested this woman who owned this shop. And so, this is going to be an interesting, and I am sure that these charges are going to be dropped one way or another. But it just seems once again that the amount of ignorance out there is obvious one way or another. And we're not out of the woods yet. We like to think that we are. Like everybody, all the police everywhere should know about CBD and how it's legal and yada yada yada. But this just proves that there are parts of the world or parts of the United States where they're not as keen as they should be when it comes to their own laws or the federal laws. Even. So we'll see what happens with this poor CBD store owner that was arrested in Iowa. So be careful, Iowans. Be careful.
Yeah.
Know your laws. Carry a little piece of paper that says this is legal. Anyway. Here, this is interesting, really. But apparently a New York police officer who was suspended or fired, I don't remember, from his job for having THC, Delta 9, THCA in his system, claims that the Dr. Bronner's All-One Hemp Almond Pure Castile bar soap is how he got enough THC in his system to fail a drug test. This is absurd. Now, here's the thing. The prosecution, or I don't know if he's suing the police department, and again, he in order to win or whatever, he's going to have to prove that there's any THC in the bar soap, which is not going to happen. Okay, you go buy 50 bars. All this is going to do is just going to start a run on this particular bar soap. If people think there's this high of THC, you'd fail a test. They're going to be out there trying to rub it on them to get it into their system. Again, two things wrong with that. If there was THC in the soap and you used it externally, it's never going to make it into your blood system to begin with. Okay, because it's fat soluble and it's too big to make its way into the bloodstream externally. Okay, that has to happen internally. So, using it as a topical is a mistake if you think that it's going to get you high, because it will not. Okay, so that's the first issue. Honestly, that's the issue I have right out of the gate. Is A, there's no THC in the soap. B, if there is THC in the soap, and unless you ate it, there's no way for that THC to get into your bloodstream in order for you to fail a drug test. That's the scientific proof of it. What I'd love to see out of this is an actual study that says eating hemp, there's no way to eat enough hemp to fail a drug test. Because this is what the gentleman on the fire department out west did 20 years ago. Somehow he went into court. He proved that he ate hemp. That hemp made him fail a drug test. And therefore, it started this long path of government agencies, our military included, that says you can't have any hemp products. None. No food, no shampoo, no clothing. Honestly, no clothing. Under the policy, this hemp shirt, if I was in the military, I couldn't wear this hemp shirt. I couldn't be in possession of this hemp shirt on base, I guess, or anywhere for that matter. That's the absurdity of this. I don't know. The prosecution 20 years ago did not do its due diligence into proving that there was no THC in hemp food, or not enough to fail a drug test. I don't know if the prosecution or whoever this guy is challenging will do enough studying. But again, you can go to the store and buy this soap, test it, and find out there's no THC in it. Never was, never will be. Surely not enough to fail a drug test. And so, this guy panicked, and the first thing he thought of is hemp soap. Honestly, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So we'll see what happens in the long run. But all the science tells me not true. Bubba, you smoke pot, you're a cop, you got caught. Just admit it. Period. Or you had some gummies, whatever. Maybe you didn't smoke. Maybe you had some edibles, and you thought that was okay because you weren't smoking it somehow. But once again, if you were off duty, little do I care, nor should anyone else, for that matter. Again, cops should be able to smoke pot off duty as much as anything. And in fact, I would encourage them to smoke pot on duty.
Yeah.
For the welfare of all us humans, because it can only make them better humans now. Anyway, here is a recipe for what they call diabetic overnight oats. And again, we'll leave this up here on the screen. You got your ingredients on top. It's a pretty simple mixture. You just got to mix it all up and you leave it overnight. This is, a common thing with people in oats is to make a mixture, put it in the fridge, you leave it in the fridge overnight, and then it actually is done, so to speak, and edible the next day. And I think a big part of that is, the oats don't have to be cooked if they're soaked long enough in some semi-liquid. And that's what a lot of these overnight oat things do. And so, once again, it's got the good old hemp seed in it. This is cholesterol, good, heart healthy food, one way or another. And I think, once you take those ingredients, it's pretty simple. You put most of it together, and then you add a little bit. As you can see, just those bottom two ingredients up there, you add those, I think, the next day. Once it's actually done, cooked. It's not cooked, it's just finished. Because it would be really like a no-cook oat mixture. So there you have it. Get yourself a good old no-cook oats breakfast or dinner. Make it whenever you want. Eat it whenever you want. I really don't care. Put it in the fridge. It's all good. There's no doubt about it. So this is kind of funny, honestly. Beatrix Potter, the famous author, if you don't know. So apparently, and this is part of her journal. So she wrote about this. She fed her rabbit a cup full of hemp seeds, and she believed that he was partially intoxicated, and she wrote, and wholly unmanageable. I don't know what wholly unmanageable means, but this is when she sketched him and apparently came up with the Peter Rabbit character. And so, the sketch is this rabbit like all laid back, all chill. But apparently this was all this feeding her pet rabbit a full cup of seeds and believing that it was intoxicated. Maybe it was just full of protein and just lazy at that point. I don't know. but yeah, she describes him, the rabbit, as being partially intoxicated and wholly unmanageable, which I think is great. And then again, shortly after that comes up with the character Peter Rabbit for her books. So, how fun is that? How fun is that? All right. Well, this last piece of news, so to speak, is actually the more. I was talking about this earlier, so I decided to see what was out there for animal bedding, and there is a lot of it. Um, and so you can see here they got different company. Chewy.com has animal bedding, as well as this Hemp Ulta. So you got that Hemp Ulta, which I think is the best deal at Chewy for that big bag of hemp herd for bedding. But you also have the opportunity to get some cat litter. And again, this untreated cat litter. We had some of this for a little while, and it's just basically the bagged herd. You could use any of this bedding probably for it if you really wanted to. And again, you can see that they've got animal bedding dedicated to rabbits, chickens, guinea pigs, horses. I'm kind of surprised I don't see snake, honestly, because I think this would make good snake animal bedding. Mouse, rat, keep those as a pet, and a lot of people do animal bedding. But a lot of opportunities. 2 years ago, if I would have put this in, probably would not. We would have seen like half of these, maybe if that. Now, once again, this is showing how much of the herd, the shiv, outside of the stalk, so to speak, is being used in byproducts. This is the same part of the stock that I was just talking about for hempcrete. It goes into the animal bedding, and it's again no chemicals being used. I remember I showed a picture of the equivalent of bedding that a horse farmer was using compared to what they used to use, and they used less hemp bedding than, well, I guess it was probably wood bedding, chopped up wood, basically, which seems kind of silly. When you break the hemp stalk up just right, it just comes apart in these really nice pieces of hemp stalk that's great for the bedding or the hempcrete. Chopping up a tree into smaller pieces seems really silly. But, the silly things we do with trees now are no different, one way or another. So, if you're looking for some animal bedding, all kinds of opportunities. And again, I don't do anything any different than most people. I just put it into my search bar, hemp animal bedding, and this is what came up. And it's full page of stuff available, which is great. Old Dominion, they've been around for a while. They're probably one of the older companies that I recognize there with their product. And so, some of these have been around for a little while. Most of them are pretty new because, again, this is all pretty much a new market. But it's growing. Supply is growing as demand is growing. So, if you need some animal bedding, plenty of opportunities online to get your animal bedding. We don't currently have any. We may have some hemp cat litter in a store or two, but I know we sold all the bags of herd that we had. So, anyway, there you have it, folks. All right, the only real event kind of going on. We got 6th, 28th, 29th is the Ohio and Kentucky Hemp Expo at the Duke Energy Center, Convention Center. Then August 18th is the Southern Hemp Expo. And I need to get some more info on that because it'll be here before we know it. But that's the big one here on this part of the country. And as the NOCO people is the Southern Hemp Expo. So I'll get you some locations and specific information on that hopefully next week, and we'll go from there. All right. Well, I didn't have any questions, and once again, my thoughts were well placed periodically in the show, as I like to do. So that's it. Thanks everybody for watching this week's High Noon Hemp Show. If you're watching live, appreciate it. If you're watching later, we appreciate it. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.
Peace.